Let's talk about technology, corporation, and its best asset, its employees. Its employees are its best asset. So, how do you think newer technologies have impacted the corporate environment, both internally and externally? When we're talking about this, we're talking about how has technology really been implemented to, and I want to expand this because I want to stay on our time. So, we were talking about how technology is used across state lines, country lines, geographic, all around the world. Every country regulates technology in a different way. You have corporations that have 250, 300, 400,000 people. Obviously, they have LGBT people from all different geographics. How does a corporation use technology, and with different laws and regulations, how do they go ahead and make sure that that technology is being utilized best? Specifically for the LGBT community in this case, we have countries like Russia, some of the Middle Eastern countries, where just simply outing yourself online, or not even outing yourself, or doing something that may out you, could be life or death. So, with corporations that are around the world, how are they using some of these technologies, and how are they managing that piece?
So this is probably an issue that's pretty near and dear to my heart. I'm actually working with a group in IBM because this is a challenge we face every day. We're in a lot of countries around the world, and Chris, as you brought up, there's different laws and regulations in those countries. IBM has really been on, in the history books you can look up in terms of diversity where they stand on this. It goes way, way, way back. But one thing we've also been very, very focused on is the security of our people, and making sure that while pursuing a policy, we're never putting our people at risk. So when you bring up technology, this is an area where it gets a little bit gray because a classic example is, if someone is in a country and wants to come out, you can do that at IBM. There's a way in which you can actually do a self-selector. I did this when I came out. I can go into my HR personnel profile and select. And it says, would you like your manager to know? And you can check that. When I did that, I did, because I was really coming out, and for 8 years, I basically only brought about 60% of myself to work, and I wanted to bring the rest of it. But there are people in certain countries where you can't even check that. You cannot, that radio button is not there. And the reason it isn't is because HR has, they're not just sort of like thinking about this after the fact. They're having real discussions and saying, we can't turn that button on in this country, in this system, because it will endanger the employee. It will change the outlook on their job. They may get fired. They may get treated differently. More recently, I was on a panel, which is great because you can connect, again, these issues we can talk about on webinars. We have a program called the Corporate Service Corps, where we send our employees to do essentially what is Peace Corps, pro bono work, in some developing countries. I went to Egypt, as I mentioned before, in 2009. I've had the opportunity to talk to people and say, before we send an employee to a certain part of the world, we should probably give them the opportunity to A, have training, or B, talk to a fellow IBMer who may be LGBT, and say, what is this going to be like? What implications will it be? Do I need to turn off my social media? I knew 3 people that had to kind of go back in the closet for their own safety. Now, the discussion was more along the lines of, do you want to go to that country? IBM won't send you there because we don't want to put you in danger. But you can pursue it, and we will support you any which way. So sort of like forging that training. Nobody at our company had really dealt with that before. To be able to shape that and be part of that training and have my name on it to say, you know what, if you've got questions about this, call Bill.
It seems like having the conversations beforehand, as you're integrating the technology, you're not letting it stop the organization, but you're having the honest conversations around how it actually impacts the work.
And the people come first.
Yeah.
So whether the system does it or not, it's not a yes or no.
Right.
It's really about what is going to keep the people both empowered but safe.